Hello, this is Brandon Pierce, owner of the Invader Pet channel and creator of the webcomic Pet Projects. Right now I'm watching the original Ghostbusters movie on AMC, and I'm actually here to talk a little bit about the Ghostbusters remake, which I saw a few days ago. Everybody's doing their reviews, so this is basically my review here, sort of, or at least me discussing it. And it's hard to really talk about the film, or at least everybody seems to have difficulty discussing the film without, people saying, oh, they made it all female. They're doing this to be politically correct and crap. And even though on tvtropes.org it said that the director had it be star a prominently female cast because that's just what most of his films have. So it was sort of a creator thumbprint sort of thing. I don't think it had anything to do with political correctness. And, whenever somebody does a remake, the question everybody asks is it as good as the original or is it better? And Dan Aykroyd said that he thought it was better than the original. I don't really agree with that. I think the original one is by far better. However, I thought that they did a few. I will say this: the new Ghostbusters movie, it's at least better than Ghostbusters 2. And Ghostbusters 2 isn't a totally bad film, but as James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, has said, it borrows too heavily from the first. And Honest Trailers did a video that showed about how Ghostbusters 2 is basically a repeat of the 1984 film. And one of the complaints I always had about the second film is the whole Peter Venkman has to he has to win back Dana for whatever reason, and that's something you see in sequels a lot, where the main character has to re-win the heart of his girlfriend or whatever. Also, I just liked how Winston, played by Ernie Hudson, is just sort of sidelined in the sequel. In the first film, he was kind of sidelined too, and I think that had to do with executive meddling and all that. But in the second film, there's really no excuse for that. They should have been able to allow him a little more character development and give Ernie Hudson a little more to do. As far as the second film, obviously it tries to have a plot that's similar to the first film, where they discover ghosts and they try to put together their own business. And you can't really say if the plot is better or worse than the first film. The first film, we all know it has something to do. There's something supernatural going on that's causing ghosts showing up in the city. And in this new film, it's actually a human being that's causing this. That's causing ghosts from showing up. I thought that was a little weird. It was kind of peculiar. I thought it seemed kind of cheap. It seemed like kind of, there's these ghosts going around and it's a human being that's causing this. It just seemed mundane a little bit to me. But the way they did it was actually pretty cool. And as far as the new cast themselves, I didn't really like Melissa McCarthy or Leslie Jones too much. They had some funny lines. I thought they were okay. I just thought they were a little too over the top. I thought, Melissa McCarthy, I think, is just being Melissa McCarthy. She plays that hyperactive role in a lot of films. And I just felt like she wasn't really treading any new ground with this particular film. Leslie Jones, I'm not too familiar with her work, and she got a few laughs out of me, but I thought she was a little too loud. I thought, and I don't like it when actors, especially actors in a comedy film, do that. They feel like they need to be loud in order to be funny. And Kristen Wiig was okay, but she was still kind of like the straight man of the group. And I don't think she got very many funny moments. The character that I really liked, that I think got the biggest laughs at the screening that I went to, was Kate McKinnon, who plays the character named Jillian. She was hilarious, I thought. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she was... yeah, she was a little more silent. She was a little more kind of a silent snarker, kind of. And she was usually off to the side, making some kind of funny facial expression, like rolling her eyes, or just having this devilish smirk, or just doing something that wouldn't be perceived as normal. She was very subtle in her comedy and her personality. And some of the eye movements she would make, I thought she was hilarious. Right now, it's going into a commercial break. And so like out of the four, Kate McKinnon was definitely the funniest one. She was kind of like a strange mixture of, I can't really say she was a mixture of any of the two original ones, and you can't really say that any of the current four Ghostbusters are like XBs or redos of Ray, Peter, Egon, and Winston. They all pretty much have their own characteristics. The character Erin, played by Kristen Wiig, is almost like a combination of Peter and Egon. She's like the science nerd, but at the same time, she's sort of a little disbelieving of things. She almost has a pessimistic outlook, but she comes around eventually. Melissa McCarthy's character Abby is very similar to Ray. In fact, she's probably the only character that really seems like an XB of one of the original Ghostbusters. Patty, the one played by Leslie Jones, she definitely has a very gung-ho personality. So in a way, she is almost like another Ray, kind of. And Kate McKinnon's character, Jillian, she really doesn't have a personality that matches any of the original four Ghostbusters. She's like her own deal. And she's almost like in her own little world. It's actually kind of hilarious to watch. Like I said, I think Kate McKinnon is the best out of all the new characters. She is the best thing in the film. She really made me laugh, and it's funny how she's always in the background or off to the side doing something funny. It's like you gotta like pay attention to her through the movie. She's hilarious. A lot of people said that the special effects are terrible. And I don't think that's what they were trying to go for. I think this may be giving the filmmakers too much credit, the special effects people too much credit. And I know that CGI is pretty hit or miss. It has to be really good or really bad, or most people expect things to look real when you're using CGI, and most of the time it doesn't. The ghosts, and people said that they look like characters out of a video game. I think that may have been deliberate as a way of trying to pay homage to the fact that some of the ghosts in the original film weren't quite there. I mean, like the librarian ghost in the original film. Yeah, it's scary and all, but you can kind of tell that it's sort of an animatronic or a puppet. It's still scary though, but it still at the same time looks kind of fake. And I think that's what they were going with for the ghosts here. They are using CGI that they knew was going to look a little fake, and I think they were trying to do that to keep a little bit of the tone of the original film in. People have been saying that the new ghosts don't look scary. They're only seeing what's being shown in the trailers. The movie isn't about making ghosts look scary. I think it's about having them act scary. And there are a few jump scares in the film, especially if you're watching the 3D version. I went and saw the film in 3D, and that part where the ghost vomits on Kristen Wiig's character, Aaron, that got a huge jump out of the audience. In fact, the friend that I went to go see it with, she screamed in her seat when that occurred. And there's a moment where we see these balloon-type ghosts that come right at the camera, and they look so creepy as hell. And wow, and so those looked kind of weird, and I thought that the huge ghost monster, whatever, that appears at the end, I'm sure a few kids who go to see the movie probably aren't going to find that comforting. And okay, show's coming back on. I'm trying to think of other things to talk about. Anything that I might have liked, anything I might have not liked. Some of the cameo appearances from the original cast was pretty interesting to see. Bill Murray, I thought, was pretty cool. He plays an almost Walter Peck type of character. In fact, okay, this is something that the remake did that I thought was kind of interesting. One of the things people talk about in regards to the original film is that Walter Peck is basically right, and the Ghostbusters actually should have been a little more cooperative in his demands a little bit, and the Ghostbusters are being a little reckless, and they haven't really tested anything yet. And then Walter Peck immediately has them shut down, or he opens up that grid, and all the ghosts come out and start terrorizing everyone. But the remake actually does something a little different. That's actually pretty interesting. The remake shows what would have happened if the Ghostbusters had cooperated with Walter Peck, or at least in this case, a character that's similar to Walter Peck. And it doesn't really end well. And so basically it kind of shows you that in the original film, the Ghostbusters were pretty much damned if they did, damned if they didn't. So that I thought was pretty interesting. I thought the cameo appearances by Annie Potts and Dan Aykroyd seemed they almost seemed thrown in at the last second. They were very quick, and they didn't really add much. Ernie Hudson has a pretty quick cameo too, and so does Sigourney Weaver. But this is something that I'm really hoping they do for a sequel, if they do a sequel to this film. Ernie Hudson and Sigourney Weaver play characters that actually have some kind of personal connection with one of the newer characters. And so I'm hoping that this means that it's like a setup for having them be a little more involved in the second film. In fact, on Twitter, I did a hashtag Bring Back Uncle Bill in regards to Ernie Hudson's character. And so if there's anybody in Hollywood that may end up being involved in writing the second film or producing the second film, if you see this video, please bring back Ernie Hudson as the uncle character and bring back Sigourney Weaver as the one mentor character, and give them a larger supporting role. That would be so cool. It would be great. And, who knows, maybe Rick Moranis can have a cameo this time, or maybe Walter Peck's actor can have a cameo this time. That'd be pretty cool. Let's see, anything else that I liked or didn't like? I thought Chris Hemsworth's character, who plays the secretary, I didn't really get too many laughs out of him. I don't think I've ever seen Chris Hemsworth do comedy, unless you count the occasional snark in the Thor or Avengers movies. I don't think comedy, full-on comedy, suits Chris Hemsworth that much, or even playing a character that's kind of idiotic and slow-witted. I don't think he's really right for the part, or does it very well. There were moments where, you know, Chris Hemsworth's character does something that should be funny, and I just wasn't really laughing that much. I wasn't really getting the humor too much. To me, it's hard to do stupid humor, basically. For me, you know, it has to be done well, and with Chris Hemsworth, I don't think it was done very well. The but you know, okay, so overall, it's really hard for me to really do any other kind of critiques or discuss much else, because I don't want to be sitting here just rambling on and going so much. I think the second film is pretty good, and it is pretty enjoyable. I'd probably disagree with Dan Aykroyd that the film is better than the first one. I still think the first one is probably more enjoyable to watch. The second film, it did have some funny moments. There are a few jokes that were clearly meant to cater to modern audiences or younger audiences. You know, like there's a fart joke, there's a vomit joke, and things that you wouldn't have really seen in the original film. Clearly jokes that were meant to make little kids laugh or people that like disgusting humor. There's a few moments of that in there, but there are some genuinely funny moments that in there, and again, mostly from Kate McKinnon's character. I just loved watching her. She was great. And the shoot, what else? One thing that the remake does better is I think it better properly introduces all four Ghostbusters better. You know, and in the original film, Winston shows up pretty late, which was the result of a lot of rewriting, if I remember right. And so we end up not knowing that much about Winston, not in the first film, not even in the second film. But all four Ghostbusters are introduced during like the first 30 minutes of the film, and we get to know a little bit about all four of them. All four of them have their own cool moments. So it was a huge improvement over the original film, I thought. That's definitely something that the remake did better. It did a better job of incorporating all four Ghostbusters and giving them proper backstories and personalities, and not having like one of them show up late in the film. That I was glad that they didn't do that. Oh, there's Slimer there. Yeah, Slimer is in the remake. I thought his presence was kind of pointless, to be honest. He's not really there. There's not really much to him. We just see him eat. We see him cause some recklessness, some mischief, which is what you'd expect Slimer to do, but there isn't really anything clever going on with the character. We just sort of see him, and we're just supposed to just say, oh, hey, there's Slimer from the original film, cool. There's really not much else to him there. Okay, another commercial's coming up. Well, I'm 18 minutes in, and I probably should wrap this up. But I think, yeah, go see the new film. And I would also like to say, go see it in 3D. Because a lot of the cool ghost effects work their best if you see in 3D. I have not seen the standard version of the film yet. Probably won't until it comes out on DVD or airs on television. But this is definitely a film that works better as a 3D movie. So go ahead, go see it. I thought it was pretty good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 7.3. I enjoyed it fairly well. There were things I didn't like about it, but there was still some good things in there, and here's to hoping for a sequel. And like I said, I hope that Ernie Hudson and Sigourney Weaver come back for the second film, because the characters that they played in the remake, they have personal connections with two of the Ghostbuster characters, which seems like it should open the door for them to be back in the second film in some capacity. I'm hoping that happens. And well, that's all I really have to say. I'm gonna wrap this up, and I thought the film was pretty good, and there we go.